Ever get that sinking feeling? You know, when your car decides to just completely crap out in the middle of rush hour?
Oh, yeah.
Or your laptop chooses the absolute worst moment to crash, like, say, 5 minutes before a big presentation, and you haven't saved any of your work.
Yeah, I've been there.
We've all been there.
Right.
It's the
It's
worst.
that reality of breakdowns.
Mhm.
And, those breakdowns become even more critical when we're talking about factories and production lines.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking potential domino
Yeah.
effects. Like, it just ripples through the entire operation.
Absolutely. Delays, wasted resources, missed deadlines.
Yep.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But what if there was a way to, like, practically sidestep these disruptions? A way to keep those factory gears turning smoothly, like a well-oiled, unstoppable machine.
Yeah, how do we do that?
Yeah.
That, my friend, is where total productive maintenance struts onto the scene. Or TPM, as the cool kids call it.
I like it. And lucky for us, we've got our hands on, you could say, a treasure map to this TPM utopia,
Ooh, I like it.
hidden within the pages of, you guessed it,
Let me guess.
Total Productive Maintenance.
Snappy title.
Yeah. And this book is packed with real-world case studies, not just some theoretical fluff.
Exactly. And we know you're all about streamlining your processes, boosting that bottom line,
Right.
making things hum with efficiency.
For sure.
So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the world of TPM.
Speaking of diving in, this book starts off with a rather cheeky quote.
Okay, hit me.
The factory of the future will have only 2 employees, a man and a dog.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on.
The man will be there to feed the dog.
Yeah.
The dog will be there to keep the man from touching the equipment.
Okay, all right. So we're aiming for a future where machines are so self-sufficient that humans are practically obsolete.
Not quite. I mean, the quote's funny, but the core idea is about minimizing unnecessary human intervention, right?
Right.
That's where TPM comes in. It's not about replacing humans altogether. It's about, like, empowering everyone to be more proactive.
Right.
Work smarter, not harder.
Okay, so less feeding the dog, more training it to, I don't know, maybe fetch us those efficiency gains.
Yeah, exactly. And to train our metaphorical dog, we need to understand those bad behaviors, those pesky preventable losses that every factory deals with.
Okay, so hit us with it. What are these so-called preventable losses that are throwing a wrench in our well-oiled machine?
Well, the book highlights 6 key culprits.
Yes.
Breakdowns, setup and adjustments, idling and minor stoppages, speed losses, quality defects, and then, of course, rework.
6 losses, huh? And I'm guessing each one of these is chipping away at our efficiency goals.
You got it. Each loss directly impacts equipment availability, how efficiently we're using our resources, and then ultimately the quality of what we're producing.
This is starting to feel very real,
Yeah.
very quickly. So are you telling me that by tackling these 6 preventable losses head on, we unlock the secret to a smoother, more productive operation?
Precisely. That is where, like, the beauty of TPM really unfolds. It provides a very systematic approach to reducing these losses, and ultimately that leads to a leaner, meaner, and far more efficient operation.
All right, you've got my attention. Now let's talk about how this TPM magic actually works. What are the steps involved in implementing this system and reaping those sweet, sweet efficiency rewards?
Okay, so we're on a mission here to banish those pesky preventable losses.
That's right.
But where do we even begin with that? Like, it's not like we can just snap our fingers and poof, instant TPM utopia.
You're right. It's not magic, but it is a journey. And luckily, this book lays out a very clear 4-phase approach to implementing a preventative maintenance schedule.
Okay.
They even have like a handy-dandy diagram.
I love visuals.
Figure 1.1. Yeah, if you're a visual learner.
Oh, I love a good visual.
Yeah.
So walk us through these phases.
Well-
What's the game plan here?
So think of it like this. You're kind of like a detective at the scene of a crime,
Okay.
except the crime is inefficiency.
So the first phase is all about assessment.
Okay.
Carefully inspecting your equipment, your processes, to really identify any red flags, any hiccups, any signs of trouble.
So we're talking like a deep dive into the heart of our operation, looking for any and all potential culprits that could be dragging us down.
Exactly.
Got it. Detective work. I like it. What's next?
All right, so once you've identified those kind of like potential troublemakers,
Yeah.
it's time for phase 2, prioritization.
Okay.
Because let's face it, you can't tackle everything at once, right?
Right.
You need to focus your energy where it matters most.
Makes sense. So we're separating the minor annoyances from the major efficiency killers.
Exactly.
But how do we even decide which issues deserve our immediate attention?
Well, that's where your detective skills really come in, right?
Yeah.
You analyze the impact of each problem. You consider things like, well, how much downtime does it cause? What are the repair costs? And then what's the overall impact on production?
Gotcha.
The issues that have the highest potential for improvement. Those are your prime suspects.
Love it. We're prioritizing like seasoned efficiency detectives. Okay, we've prioritized what's next on our TPM to-do list.
Phase 3 is all about standardization.
Okay.
Remember those clear procedures we talked about earlier? This is where they come in.
Yeah.
You develop these well-defined protocols for inspection, for maintenance, even for operation.
Right.
It's all about making sure everybody's on the same page.
So it's about creating a system, a set of best practices that like keeps everyone on track and minimizes that potential for human error. Consistency is key. All right, we're in the home stretch now. What's the final phase of this TPM transformation?
Implementation and monitoring.
Okay.
This is where you put all those carefully crafted plans into action.
Right.
But it's not enough to just implement.
Yeah.
You need to keep a watchful eye on those key metrics,
Yeah.
track your progress, identify any new hiccups,
Right.
and, make adjustments along the way.
So it's about staying vigilant, adapting, and continuously improving.
Exactly.
It's not a one-and-done deal. It's like an ongoing commitment to excellence. Now, there's one concept from the book that really caught my eye, and that's this emphasis on restoring equipment to, like, new condition.
Yeah.
So it's not just about patching things up. It's about aiming for, like, a higher standard of maintenance.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
And you know what I think is so fascinating about that concept? It's not just about aesthetics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
About having this shiny, impressive-looking equipment.
Yeah.
Although that's certainly a nice bonus.
Sure.
But it's about understanding that wear and tear, even on a microscopic level, can really impact performance and longevity.
So we're not just fixing what's broken. We're, like, preemptively preventing future breakdowns.
That's right.
And extending the lifespan of our equipment.
Yeah.
Talk about a win-win.
Exactly. And this is where I think those real-world case studies come in.
Okay.
The book is full of examples of companies that have embraced this new philosophy and seen some really remarkable results.
Like what?
Reduced downtime, lower maintenance costs, increased equipment lifespan, you name it.
Okay, now those are the kinds of stories I like to hear.
Right.
It's one thing to talk about TPM in theory, but seeing it in action, seeing those tangible results, that's what really brings it home.
Absolutely.
Speaking of bringing it home, we've got these 4 phases down.
Right.
But what about the foundation? The book also mentions something called the 8 pillars of TPM.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The 8 pillars. These are like the core values, the guiding principles that really underpin a successful TPM program.
Okay.
And they address everything from, workplace organization and employee training to continuous improvement and autonomous maintenance.
Okay.
There's a very holistic approach to building that culture of efficiency.
Okay, color me intrigued. Now we're talking about more than just the machines and the processes. We're talking about people and culture. This is where things get really interesting. Okay, so these 8 pillars you mentioned, they're about more than just keeping the factory floor sparkling clean. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a fundamental shift in mindset, a whole new way of approaching work.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And the book does a great job of breaking down each pillar and how they all kind of fit together to create this culture of efficiency and continuous improvement. But maybe for now, we can just focus on a few.
Hit me with your top picks.
Okay, let's start with something called 5S.
5S.
Yeah. Which, believe it or not, has nothing to do with the latest smartphone.
Okay.
It stands for sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain.
Okay, I have to admit, when I first heard about 5S, I was like, this sounds like something my grandma would be into.
Right.
Not exactly revolutionary. Yeah.
But then I dug a little deeper.
It does sound a bit, well, mundane, I guess.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Imagine a workspace where everything has a designated place.
Okay.
Where tools and materials are easy to find, easy to put away, and where any abnormality, any sign of a problem, it immediately jumps out at you.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. It's not about being obsessively tidy just for the sake of appearances.
Right.
It's about creating a visual system that makes problems impossible to ignore.
Exactly. When you eliminate clutter, when you eliminate chaos, you free up mental bandwidth.
Right.
And you create an environment where efficiency can really thrive.
All right, 5S, check. What else you got?
Let's talk about autonomous maintenance.
Okay.
Now, this pillar is all about empowering operators to take ownership of their workstations. Okay, so we're not just talking about operators like pushing buttons and monitoring gauges.
Right.
We're giving them the skills and the responsibility to actually handle routine maintenance tasks themselves.
You got it.
Right.
And this is where the real magic happens. When operators are trained to perform basic maintenance, it frees up your skilled technicians.
Okay.
They can focus on more complex repairs, preventative measures, that kind of thing.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Operators feel more valued, they feel more empowered. Technicians can focus on the bigger picture issues,
That's right.
and the entire operation just runs smoother.
Precisely. And to top it all off, you're cultivating this culture of ownership, of accountability.
Right.
People take pride in their work, they're more likely to spot potential problems early on, and they're way more invested in finding solutions.
Okay, I'm sold on autonomous maintenance. What about, there's one more pillar. I'm dying to hear about this. Kaizen. It sounds kind of like a mystical martial art or something.
I assure you there are no flying kicks involved.
Yeah.
But it is a powerful concept. Kaizen, which has its roots in Japanese manufacturing, is all about continuous improvement,
Okay.
but through small, incremental changes.
So we're not talking about these massive overhauls or radical transformations.
Right.
We're talking about making small tweaks, small adjustments over time.
Exactly. It's about fostering this mindset where everyone is constantly looking for ways to do things better,
Right.
no matter how small the improvement might seem.
And I'm guessing those small improvements over time can actually lead to some pretty significant results.
Absolutely. You see, Kaizen recognizes that even the most complex systems are made up of smaller, interconnected parts.
Right.
By focusing on optimizing those individual parts, by making those small, continuous improvements, you create this ripple effect
Wow.
that really elevates the performance of the entire system.
This is all starting to feel very holistic, very interconnected. It's
Yeah.
not just about machines or processes or even people. It's about creating a culture where efficiency is just woven into the very fabric of the organization.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And you know, what I find even more fascinating is that these principles, they're often applied in a manufacturing context,
Right.
but they're incredibly relevant to other industries and even our personal lives.
It's true. That's something that I think often gets lost in translation, right? We get so caught up in the terminology and the specific examples that we kind of forget about those underlying principles.
Yeah, those principles are universal.
Yeah.
The idea of continuous improvement, of empowering individuals, of creating a culture of ownership and accountability. I mean, those are ideals that transcend industries,
It's true.
and they really have the power to transform the way we work and live.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've gone from those initial feelings of frustration, like when things break down,
Yeah.
to actually exploring a system, a philosophy really, that empowers us to prevent those breakdowns from happening in the first place.
Right.
We've talked about phases and pillars and the importance of creating this culture of efficiency. And, like you said, let's not forget those real-world case studies.
Those are important.
Those stories of companies, big and small, that have successfully implemented TPM.
Yeah, and they're out there,
And they're seeing those incredible results.
proving that this stuff actually works.
Yeah. So for those listening who are feeling inspired, maybe even a little fired up about PPM, what's the best way for them to dive in and explore these concepts further?
Well, this book, Total Productive Maintenance, is an excellent starting point.
It's a good one.
It's chock full of practical advice, real-world examples, actionable strategies. But don't stop there.
Right.
There are countless resources available online, from articles and webinars to forums and communities
Right.
dedicated to TPM and continuous improvement.
It's all about finding what resonates with you, what sparks your curiosity, and then just diving in head first. Remember, the journey to efficiency, like any worthwhile pursuit, it's all about taking that first step
Yes.
and then just embracing the process of continuous learning and improvement.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of TPM. We'll catch you next time.